Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between the Warriors of Chaos and the Demons of Chaos. So, going to be a Chaos party here on the Glade of the Everqueen, and it is going to be Combat Archaon. So, Archaon is not going to be bringing much in the way of magic. He will have Burning Head, but aside from that, he's going to be a big combat character who is going to be getting healed by the Chaos Sorcerer of Nurgle. So, quite a bit of fun. Very cool to be able to do that nowadays. Now, for the rest of the build, it's mostly anti-demon tech. Marauder Horsemen, of course, very good against demons. They do have javelins, which don't have great AP, but typically demons, even the bigger, scarier ones, don't have the best armor value. So you want to usually max out on Horsemen for Warriors of Chaos in most matchups, to be honest. Aside from that, we're going to get some Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch. I like these guys quite a bit against demonic factions because they do magic damage, so that's going to be mitigating the 20% Fizz res that demons do have. Archaon also does magic damage. We're trying out the Knights of Immolation, a bit of a risky pick because of the prevalence of the Shrieking Sky Rays and Screamers and all things like that that have anti-large up in the air, but we're going to see what kind of work they can do. And on the ground, we got some Marauders of Khorne just because it had a little bit of, a little something left over. Nurgle Caster and another Tzeentch Warrior here. And that's going to be it for my army. Now for Subutai, he's going to be coming in with a very cool build using a very Nurgle-focused front line. So we do have Nurgle, Daniel, and those demons, a lot of demons got buffed in this patch. And he's a pretty respectable fighter, Grand Vomitus. He does have anti-infantry and AP, magic, and poison. Spells are going to be not Cloud of Flies, but Fleshy, as well as Rancid, which is a very, very common kit. Rancid is an amazing snipe spell, and Fleshy is pretty standard if you're going to have SEs. We got Plague Bearers in the back, as well as Sour Guts and Blue. So Tzeentch shooting, Nurgle front line, and now the new reworked Soul Grinder of Tzeentch, which just got even better. It used to just be like something that was only good against large targets, but for some reason CA gave it like a spray fire mode. Like the missiles like split at the end now, and they do not only anti-large, but they're really good against infantry too. So I think you're going to start seeing Soul Grinders of Tzeentch quite a bit. I know they're already a scourge of land battle. I can imagine that they're probably a little bit worse now. Who knows? Maybe they're worse against large targets. I don't know. Need to test them out a little bit more. But nonetheless, we'll do a little bit of fast forwarding as we get going here. Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch have arrived up to objective number 1. And aside from that, my first call-in is going to be some aspiring champions. I like to just kind of send them into the fray. They do magic damage and are super tanky, and typically will trade okay against most demons. So not too unhappy about that. Now here we have a little bit of skirmishing going down. Soul Grinder of Tzeentch juking back and forth, eating some javelins to the face, but taking them like a champ on his shields. Call-in for the demons is going to be some Exalted Demonettes. Really good infantry unit. I'm a big fan of Exalted Demonettes. They hit super hard. They have the Charmed ability, which nullifies the offensive output of their opponent, kind of complementing their lack of armor. And yeah, they're just fast, they hit hard, kind of like light cavalry almost. With 54 movement speed, they can almost keep pace with the Chaos Knight unit. So here we're going to use Knights of Immolation as well as the Marauder Horsemen. The Javelin down the Plague Bearers, trying to get what value we can here, while some Sour Gut shooting does go down to the back. And does more damage than I expected, that's for sure. And we do drop our little bombardment there, get a partial hit. Overall, not terrible, but I do need to retreat before Nurgle Daniel arrives and starts to push them back. And hopefully I don't take too many L's there. Now, on the back objective, Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch, we do have the Aspiring Champions moving up, and the Hordes of Chaos do arrive with Combat Archaon lurking in the trees. As far as what he has the Crown of Domination. It's really good. ITP and leadership is very, very nice in this matchup. He's got Burning Head and the Slayer of Kings. Slayer of Kings, hopefully he'll be able to get into combat with Grand Vomitus at some point with that huge magic damage and drag him down, but time will tell. So in the skirmishing phase, pretty even. My Knights here did take a lot of damage, so at the end of the day, he probably comes out slightly ahead. Those Plague Bearers are, not a huge value unit. They're only 700 gold. Getting a little bit of Javelin play into Nurgle Daniel here, and that Soul Grinder is just basically going to be sitting on my units and throwing those fat Javelins and picking off models incrementally. Nothing too crazy, but here in the flank, we do see the Exalted Demonettes of Slaanesh waiting to party, and we do get these Tzeentch Warriors engaging versus the Plague Bearers. Now, Tzeentch Warrior probably wins this fight. The fact that the Plague Bearers lose their physical resist is pretty big, and the 100 armor and the extra shields, I think, would carry the day in that straight-up fight. We do also have the Nurgle Sorcerer in there helping the homies out. And the Aspiring Champions, I'm just using the screen missiles and occupy my opponent's attention. Perhaps a bit of a mistake, they might overextend and get killed by some of the elite demonic infantry that can be called in, but we're going to give it a college try and see what kind of a distraction they can run. And they are blocking up a lot of the army, allowing me to claim the objectives, but we'll see if it's worth it. Now, the Exalted Demonettes, as expected, going to be rerouting over here to kill the Aspiring Champions, which is a really, really good play for my opponent, really good target priority. And Archaon the Everchosen just duking it out with some Plague Bearers, having a good old jolly time, while the Knights, or the Hounds of the Blood Hunt, have been called. And these, of course, are the Arawar Hounds of Khorne. Pretty good fighters, but we do have Bile Trolls to head them off. So Bile Trolls, I think, are really good. Armored Chaos Trolls are also great, but man, the aura Bile Trolls have, -6 MD, and like around them is really strong. So I'm starting to like lean more into Bile Trolls instead of Chaos Armored Trolls, but it depends on the matchup. They still have 60 armor, so it's not like they're super squishy either, but here in the backfield, really nice catch. Subutai does manage to find the Aspiring Champions. He gets some with Screamers, Exalted Demonettes, and the speed of the Slaanesh Demons really paying huge dividends here. Chaos Warriors, as expected, defeating the Plague Bears with the Sorcerer support, and I don't know how the Corn Marauders will do. They'd obviously lose 1-1 here. We're gonna, see how they trade. Hopefully it'll be okay with that huge bonus versus infantry. Poison, of course, will mitigate some of their efficiency. And the Sour Guts are ripping shots into my Tzeentch Warriors, but they're very high armor, and of course the shields are very cool too, so hopefully they will hold. And the Houndos are just Benny Hilling. We're basically running circles while I do use the Knights of Immolation, who I've given Fleshy Abundance, so a little bit of Nurgle and Tzeentch love. They can't, sometimes they can be friends, as you can see here. And we do get the fat heal on them, and they still have a respectable model count. They're going to be at 16 to 24, so their combat efficiency should stay decent. And the Hounds are going to get crumbled here, most likely. The Bile Troll's picking them apart. As far as the back objective goes, nothing really going down here. Unfortunately, though, I probably should have moved them over to help out. Leaving them on that point is kind of, I don't know, I'm always concerned about the speed of the Chaos Demons with, like, Flesh Hounds coming in into the point, but arguably, it's something that as you get more experience in domination, you don't leave things to guard things as much unless it's like a really late game situation or against certain factions. So in retrospect, I should have brought those guys up. Nonetheless, new Chaos Warriors do arrive, going to be engaging with the Plague Bears, and also we get some Chaos Knights coming in. Really nice firepower on my Horsemen, and now Archaon is in a bit of a pit fight. So Archaon is going to be battling Nurgle Daniel. He gets some okay damage with Slayer of Kings. He's at 870. He does also have Bile Trolls here, and Chaos Knights are coming in to try and run over the supporting shooting, and hopefully they will be able to. A little bit vulnerable against Screamers, but yeah, Chaos Knights are pretty solid. Honestly, I just think better than Rot Knights in most ways. Their durability is really, really good, and it's weird. They have the same mass as Rot Knights, even though Rot Knights only have 32 models, so I find that Rot Knights do struggle to kind of have that oomph and push through things like Chaos Knights do. Burning Head going down from Archaon, but that was a misclick. It was supposed to be going down this way, but alas, I did misclick and wasted that Burning Head. So that is one less like Fleshy Abundance I'm going to be getting, basically. So that was a pretty colossal mistake there, but we'll see if it ends up mattering. Now, Chaos Knights go through, and the Blues do get a little bit of firepower, but these big metal Knights of Chaos should be able to melt down these little popcorn bandits. Meanwhile, Nurgle Daniel not having the best of time with Archaon, but his magic is certainly helping him. Rancid Visitations does a ton of damage, so I decided to pull back and get Archaon somewhere I can heal him, and hopefully he can recover and then get back into combat. The objective has been taken by the Demons of Chaos, who are up in value. We both have access to healing. He's got Fleshy. I have Fleshy Abundance as well. Here we see the Blues going down, Chaos Knights down being attacked by Screamers, but the Chaos Knights probably can defeat these Screamers, even in their very, surrounded state here. I think they should be able to turn about face and deal with those. Unfortunately, some of the Bile Trolls do break, but 16 of 16 models is good, and this is where if you can rally a Bile Troll, pull it back and let it heal for a while, and then send it back in. Just pretend you're playing like not Call of Duty, but Company of Heroes. And you need to, save the manpower on the unit, right? So you're going to pull him back, heal him without losing the individual models. Knights of Immolation and the Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch trading pretty well, and the Demons are getting a little bit worn down here, but man, these Exalted Demonettes must have some fat value. I bet they've just been doing work. Yeah, 1,000 value here, butchering through the Chaos Knights, another Rancid Visitations on Archaon, so he's getting the blessings of Nurgle here today. But we do have a heal coming up soon. You can see the Nurgle Sorcerer's going to be running back in there to tag his opponent into the ring. It's going to be healing Archaon and getting him back in the fight here soon. And now we do also have Exalted Bloodletters, so the Elite Demonic Infantry proving to be a pretty substantial problem here. We're going to need to start utilizing our mobility and ninjaing points, because fighting these Elite Demonic Infantry has been so tough. But man, shout out to the Chaos Warriors. They're fighting like Exalted Demonettes, potentially being flanked by Bloodletters, and those guys are just holding all day. And the Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch, oh, look at that, negates magic weapons within the effect area. That's a really cool one with the Hounds of the Blood Hunt, mitigating the magic damage on those guys and making the physical resist matter more for the demon unit. So I do go for a ninja on the back point here, but my opponent does wisely call in the Changebringers. Changebringer is a really, really solid piece, especially if I don't have ample anti-air nearby, and I don't. So I'm going to get cooked by these real bad. And I almost into the point, but I think he's going to be able to get me off, which sucks. I put a lot into that, and I was like, I needed that to buy me some more time to skirmish in other areas. So Archaon's about to get the Fleshy Abundance, and in the tree line, we do have some Chaos Knights running away from Exalted Demonettes. Not a fight Chaos Knights want to take, especially in the trees, and it's funny, they're like basically, they felt like they were at the same speed. The Chaos Knights are really slow and chonky in the trees, and the Exalted Demonettes are hot on their tail. So they did end up defeating the Screamers, having a pretty good performance. About 700 value with a lot more to give. So overall, I was happy with their initial performance. And now Archaon's back, baby. He didn't hear no bell. And the dreaded House Cat. Yes, we didn't get this. This is a throwback to the tournament where House Cat tried to get the... he didn't fully capture his objective and it cost him the game there. But yeah, objective 2 is going to stay. And I had no choice, so I got forced off the point. So that was pretty unfortunate for me. Now, Chaos Warriors still fighting with the Nurgle Sorcerer, and we do have the Tzeentch Warriors anchoring it down pretty darn well. Nurgle Daniel gets smashed up. I did call in the Summoners of Rage, which are really good against demons, anti-large, armor piercing as well. Not that armor piercing matters too much, but the magic damage is what makes them really good. So I'm a huge fan of Summoners of Rage in the demon matchups. and they're going to be rotating over to the Sour Guts here. And in the meantime, we do get some pursuit here on the Changebringers. I had a couple tattered Knights of Immolation left, and they're putting in work. Without them, man, these things would be rampaging, so I was very grateful to have those right there. So Soul Grinder of Zeech looks like it's going to be trying to get in combat. Call-ins for me are going to be Chaos Warriors and Bile Trolls. Archaon the Everchosen still very much alive, and Archaon's going to be diving in to fight the Exalted Demonettes. A dodgy fight, but he will hit hard. Chaos Knights coming in. We get a big sandwich on the Demonettes. Granted, they might enjoy this, but nonetheless, it is going to do fat damage, and the Exalted Demonettes start to take huge casualties, and we probably should be able to polish them off here, or at least kill them in an expedient manner. So trying to get our way back in the game, we do start kiting with the Summoners of Rage. We don't want them in sustained combat versus Demonettes and, you know, the Sour Guts and all those different units. They are anti-large fighters and are respectable against infantry and have that nice Chain Lightning bound too. So we get a Chain Lightning, and it does actually end up going through some of the demons here. Exalted Demonettes, though, they're not crumbling. The buffs to the demon units, I don't know if it was like every demon unit. I got to go through those patch notes. I did miss the changes to the demons, but they seem to be holding a lot better than they used to, which I think Demons of Chaos are going to be a pretty damn good faction in Domination. In Land Battle, I don't really know, but as far as Domination mode, I think they're going to be pretty solid. So Chaos Knight's going to be retreating back, Bile Trolls and the Chaos Warriors holding back the tides of demons. The Exalted Demonettes do get unstable and start crumbling, and Archaon is going to be getting in now and fighting a very scary fight, but he is attacked by Nurgle Daniel. And I believe my opponent's probably out of Winds of Magic here as far as abilities go. Archaon does not have the Slayer of Kings active at this point, and he is going to be getting tagged with, I believe, one last Fleshy Abundance. So the Fleshy Abundance is going to come down from the Nurgle Sorcerer, and you can see Nurgle Daniel starts to struggle a little bit against Archie. Archie's a very good fighter, even with the poison. I mean, his combat stats are still pretty amazing. So he does connect a couple times. The back point's being threatened very heavily by the Exalted Bloodletters, Plague Bearers, as well as the Sour Guts here. So getting a little bit dodgy, but man, if we can swing the battle around, you can see we're kind of pulling the value back a little bit. We were down by quite a bit, but unfortunately those Changebringers certainly bring in some change to the outcome of this game potentially, as they just roast my units right here. Screamers do manage to finally chase off the Chaos Knights. Chaos Knights got 1200 value, which isn't bad. They cost barely more than that, so I was very happy with their performance this game. Archaon, though, getting slapped by a lot of combined firepower from the demons. Nurgle Daniel up in the sky chasing down the Knights of Immolation, and using my horsemen on the low ground to try and finish off the Changebringers. And we almost do. They only have 7 models left, so the Javelins have been doing very well. Now we're going to make a play for this objective here. Hopefully we'll be able to hold it. I think with the Summoners of Rage getting a little bit of support from Hounds, even though the Hounds are going to get wrecked, it will buy the Summoners of Rage some time to put some damage down, and also some Chaos Warriors are arriving. So we should be able to hold on to that point. We'll have to see. Changebringers down to a couple models, 400 HP. Probably going to be unstable here in a second. Most likely will start crumbling. And Archaon sitting at 9 leadership. Really, really dodgy for sure. And the points are starting to creep pretty heavily in the favor of the demons. And somehow, some way, the capture weight here still outweighed my units. There was enough demons left to make the difference. So we do move the Hounds on and call in the remnants of these Zeech Warriors. And we're going to win this fight for sure. The Exalted Bloodletters will probably fall to the Dragon Ogres, and the Plague Bearers won't have enough oomph to really get through all those units. So this fight's getting a little bit wild, though. Nurgle Daniel here getting in the danger zone with Archaon. Slayer of Kings active, 729, 2500 HP, and I have to tell you, I was just ferociously clicking on Grand Vomitus here, trying to drag him down, but I couldn't quite do it. But there goes the chase. Archaon the Everchosen going to be going after Grand Vomitus, and is he going to get away? -8 if we can crumble him, and Archaon lives. That is for sure going to be a way back in the game, but sadly, he is going to squeak away. That was like our moment to really, really pull the game back there, finishing off Grand Vomitus, at which point Archaon could probably even take on the Soul Grinder. So a couple horsemen being called in out of desperation, trying to get some Javelins in, but we couldn't get the crumble, and Grand Vomitus does get away from the flanking Bile Trolls who did return. So that was like my one moment I felt to really scrap it back. Here we do get the Surround. Plague Bearers get in the business with the Summoners of Rage as well as the Chaos Warriors, so that is nice. But it's getting pretty darn close to being a triple cap situation, but not quite there yet. Archaon the Everchosen holding on for dear life, currently at 8 leadership, 700 HP. I mean, Archaon has insane leadership. He's the Lord of the End Times and all that, right? Couple Javelins here, throwing and doing what damage they can. Colin is going to be Exalted Bloodletters for the Demons of Chaos. Nurgle Daniel has pulled back, and the Exalted Demonettes are now rushing up, which is going to put a roadblock on my advance. Granted, my Goon Squad here, including the Summoners of Rage, have been doing awesome at 2,000 value. A lot of that value was from Nurgle beating the Nurgle Lord down, but in the early game, which you guys saw for a quick moment. But even still, they should be able to still provide quite a bit against those Exalted Demonettes. So now we got to go for that triple cap, and we do get a lot of damage on this Demon Blob, but Archaon is forced away. 677 HP, certainly has heard no bell whatsoever. Javelins wearing down the Nurglings. Nurgle Sorcerer is still fighting, but the Bile Trolls do get terrified off, and this might be the straw that breaks the Warriors back here. We'll have to see. calling out a couple Marauders with dual weapons to hope that they'll be able to grind through this infantry quick enough. A couple Hounds going to be flanking across. And now we're going for a big push on objective number 2. I know that if I can get objective 2, it's going to give me an opportunity to, have a lot more time to get objective 3, because then he'll only be going up 2 tickets, 1 ticket instead of 2 per second, which is currently what it is. Horsemen doing some good skirmishing damage, poking down the overextending demons here. The Hounds of the Blood Hunt are trying to pick what they can. And we're just desperately surging forth. Archaon sitting here at 600 HP. Nurgle Daniel maybe thinking about coming in and fighting Archaon, but Archaon might honestly win that. They're both wounded, so you can see their stats are going to be lowered. 376 against 296. Archaon could feasibly take a couple hard shots from that Nurgle character before getting punished. And now we get the Warriors moving in to fight against the Demonettes. But man, those Demonettes butchered those freaking Summoners of Rage on the flank. I was like, oh god, that happened really, really quickly. And I honestly think there's just too many elite units on the battlefield still. He's got the Exalted Bloodletters, the Demonettes. We pulled the value to be basically dead even. So though we were behind, we fought pretty okay to get back in the game here. Vile Trolls laying a bit of a whooping down to the Soul Grinder as we do start to make progress here. Chaos Knights coming out. If we had another 3 or 4 minutes, we might have a chance of winning this game, because this is like a 100% chance we're going to take this one on the Soul Grinder and the Screamers with the Chaos Knights and the infantry here. But it's probably going to take too long, and his Exalted Demonettes and Bloodletters are really dominating that flank. So that is pretty much it. We hunt down Nurgle Daniel, but he's able to survive. He gets away just barely hanging in there, probably with 1,000 HP. Yep, just right, and he gets the W. Very well played. Super cool game. So that was an experimental Chaos build. I wanted to see if it was worth investing a Sorcerer and Archaon to have him be this raid boss, but my ultimate conclusion from it was it's probably not worth it, at least in that matchup. He didn't even do that well. He got like 1,200 value. It made me think, like, just bring Archaon with like Spirit Leech, although he probably would have died to the sniping from the Branson Visitations. So ultimately, probably in this matchup, you just go with a different Lord or different character. But yeah, the other stuff worked fine. The Knights of Immolation still got 2k value, which is pretty cool. Horsemen were awesome. Other elements that did well, Summoners of Rage, Chaos Knights were quite viable. And Vile Trolls were good too. So we saw things that did really well. Knights of Immolation, Nurgle Sorcerer was great. Chaos Knights, as well as the Trolls and the Summoners. But overall, I think the whole Archaon gimmick cost us the game. It just was such an expensive combo of units, and Archaon is a big fighter, but the demons seemed to have plenty of tools to mitigate his effectiveness, whether it be mass from Fleshhounds or Screamers or their own SEs. 2,700 on the Soul Grinder of Tzeentch. Those things are pretty insane now. They're very good. So you're going to be seeing them in a ton of builds. And Nurgle Daniel did great. He's very, very good. And yeah, Changebringers, the elite infantry were awesome. I love that play from my opponent. And hopefully you guys did as well. GG. See you guys around. And that's going to be it for today.